Greetings, good morning, and welcome to Mind the Moment. This, my friends, is our coffee house in the cloud, a place to come together, build community, get centered, and find out just what the present moment has to present to us. It is September 25th, 2020, which just so happens to be the fourth day of autumn. While summer has always seemed to me to be the time to hit the beach, I find autumn encourages retreats towards the woods. I am reminded then of the work of Gordon Hempton, who calls himself an acoustic ecologist and who has spent the better part of his long career traveling the globe with a microphone, collecting what he has dubbed experiences of silence and vanishing natural soundscapes, many of which are available to listen to on his Spotify channel. He also created the documentary Vanishing Dawn Chorus in the 80s, which features the sounds of the sunrise on 6 different continents. Of the experience of recording natural environments, Gordon Hempton has said the following, quote, "Many times you go to a place with a certain expectation, and then when you get there, you're going to be disappointed. Good," he says, "be disappointed. Disappointment is just an epiphany in disguise." I'm John Roberts from Harvard Pilgrim Health Care's mindfulness program. Joining me, as she does most Fridays, is someone who's never a disappointment and always an epiphany, the founder and director of our program, Tara Healey. Good morning, Tara.
Good morning, John. Hello, everyone. Good morning.
Tara, what's the quietest place you've ever been to?
Oh, so interesting. I'm familiar with Gordon's work, and I know there is some place on the planet that, and I can't remember what it is, that is the most quiet, like the least sort of noise pollution. My house is pretty quiet. I'm set way back off the road, so there's a lot of, pretty quiet, except for the crickets when the windows are up.
Well, so what's the loudest place you've ever been to?
Oh gosh, I guess I think concerts.
Oh, I don't want you to date yourself, and I feel like, well, okay, we'll get.
Yeah, 1976, Bruce Springsteen, third row.
Okay, there you go. So in just a moment, Tara will lead us in a guided meditation. As a meditation teacher, I refer to her as the boss, so it's good. That's a good accordance there, after which we'll get ourselves into a bit of Q&A, and that's where we definitely want you to be involved. So take a moment, if you would, and open up the chat box. Now you can find that at the bottom of your screen. Once you have the chat box open, please feel free to submit any questions or comments you might have at any time. There's no need to wait until the end. In that spirit, Tara, is there anything that you'd like to ask the folks at home to type in about as we're getting started?
Yeah, definitely. So this weekend is supposed to be like 80 degrees and sunny and absolutely beautiful. And I just thought I would check in and see, what do you plan to do this weekend? Just one thing that you would love to do or that you already have planned.
All right, weekend plans. While folks are taking a moment to respond, thank you for being with us and with each other this morning. Please do keep in mind that only Tara and I will be able to see anything that you type. And if we don't have a chance to read your particular question or comment out loud, do know that we read and appreciate them all. As we close, which will be right around 9 a.m., I will make mention of a few other ways that you can keep in touch with us as well. So I got some things coming in. So somebody is going sailing. That's a great way to socially distance. You're never more than a boat lengths close to people. Having dinner in our yard with good friends. Taking a ride with a cat in a car. That is a brave idea. Yard work. Phone banking for local elections. Excellent. Everyone, please, no matter who you're voting for, get out there and register to vote and then vote. Going for a long run. Last trip to the beach. Well, there's always a little bit of a bittersweet quality to that. 16-mile run. Oh, that's a terrific goal. Somebody's going to start writing in their new journal. Oh, there's something about cracking open a fresh page, I think. There's that new journal smell. having a socially distanced happy hour in our neighborhood. Oh, that's very
Nice.
fun. Kind of a socially
Nice.
distanced block party. Okay, well, that's a great range there. So that leads me into something, Tara, I wanted to talk about. I want to return to Gordon Hempton, our
Yeah.
good friend, the audio ecologist, whose work is described beautifully in a recent article I would recommend in the magazine Afar. It's entitled "The God of Silence Speaks Up." And this article describes Hempton's advocacy for the reduction of noise pollution, driven in part by the fact that noise pollution endangers animals and plants who depend on the ability to decode sound cues in their environment, but also because noise pollution endangers humans. As the article states, experiences of silence have been shown to lower blood pressure, facilitate the development of new brain cells, decrease stress levels, and even prevent plaque formation in arteries. Sounds a lot like the effects of mindfulness practice, actually. And this is what causes Hempton to suggest when we save quiet, we save everything else. What Hempton is finding, however, is that it's hard to get people to fully grasp the problem of noise pollution if people haven't already been taught to listen fully and deeply. Only then is a person able to appreciate the difference between natural silence and the conditioned silence of the urban world, which most of us have gotten used to. The article states that for Hempton, real listening means turning off your brain and opening your ears to the world, giving everything a chance to be a soloist rather than determining the soloist from the start. Only then will you see or hear that silence is not the absence of something, but the presence of everything. So Tara, I'm wondering if you might lead us on the path towards real listening this morning by using sound as a component of the meditation, which you'll be guiding us through.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, I would be happy to. The only Gordon's clearly an expert. The only thing that I would take a little bit issue with is turning off brain, like that sets us up for failure because we're all in the same boat. Like we can't really just turn off our brain. But I take his sentiment. I think his sentiment is that open up to the experience of sound around you. And the way that some of my teachers have phrased it, and I really love this, is you don't have to go out and find sound. So let it come to you. So allowing sound to come to you. So that means the attitude in the mind is one of receptivity, which is one of the most important qualities of mind when we're learning about mindfulness and practicing mindfulness. It's awareness with an attitude of receptivity. So this morning, what I'll do is I'll have us settle in the way we typically do. We'll take a couple deep breaths, check in with the body, check in with the breath a bit, just, and again, however you're breathing is perfect. So you don't have to change your breath ever. Your body will ultimately regulate. And then I'm going to have us just open up to sound and use sound as the anchor as opposed to using breath as the anchor. And the other thing is, if you are in a very, very quiet place, we all have an inner sound called nada. It's in our ears. And sometimes that becomes more prevalent if there's no other sound around you, because usually you can't hear that nada sound. But we all have an inner ear sound. So, all right. So with that said, let's go ahead and settle in as we do to the seated or standing posture. And just take a couple of deep breaths on your own. So deep inhalation through the nose, a little bit longer exhalation through the mouth. So go ahead and at your own pace, do that. And just simply surrender your weight into the support of the surface that you're on, all the while maintaining a spine that is straight but not stiff. So essentially you're relaxing the body around the core, the spine, which is holding you upright, and making micro movements so that you are alert and engaged, upright and aware. At the same time, relaxed to the degree that you're able. So just to the degree that you're able. And just begin to notice the physical expressions in the body from your activity so far. So perhaps you're noticing points of contact with the body and the surface, or a pulsing vibration, temperature, just checking in with the internal environment, with the body, just receptive to physical sensations. Begin now to just notice the rhythm of your breath and where in the body that breath sensation is strongest for you. So just tracking the breath in and out and anchoring awareness to the sensations most prevalent. And begin now to open your field of awareness, receptive to sound. And for the remainder of the practice, we'll use sound as our anchor. If at any time it feels better to go back to the breath, that's fine. So again, trust your own inner sense of what's best for you. But if you're open, let's give it a try and just receive sound, allowing sound to serve as an anchor. Being cautious not to label what's making the sound, but just receiving sound. And as the mind wanders, which it naturally will, just bringing the awareness gently back without judgment. And noticing where the mind is, softening the body and returning to sound, just receiving. No need to go out and find it. Noticing the various changing sounds around you, from the hum of the fridge to a bird call. Just receptive, receiving. And noticing where the mind is, softening the body, reconnecting with the various sounds around you. And as you feel ready, if your eyes were closed, you can open your eyes and reconnecting with the room around you.
So thank you, Tara. I love this type of practice. One of the reasons, so I'm in a room right now where I have a lot of things plugged in to a lot of other things. And sometimes I fool myself into thinking, oh, I'm hearing the buzz I'm hearing. That's the sound. That's my inner sound of silence.
Yeah.
And then I realized, no, it's the sound of these electronic devices, just the sound of the plug, right? And it makes me think I should unplug some of these things. And it's something I don't think about until I'm thinking about it. And it
Right.
takes that moment of sitting quietly to think, I might be inadvertently wasting a lot of energy and not even realizing it, with all these things that are just like plugged into the wall and
Yeah.
just sucking down energy, even if they're not turned on. So
Right.
it's that awareness, not only to sound, but to what the sound is indexing, which I think is powerful for me. I also want to ask you a question, which is that it can be difficult for me if I'm hearing a lot of sounds in the street too, and it can be difficult for me not to think. Like I hear like a sound from the school across the street, and I'll start thinking about when I was in school. And so I wonder if you have any advice on how do you not allow yourself to get sucked into a story about the sounds that you're hearing.
Yeah, it's really important and common, John. That's one of the reasons that I said, I sort of slipped in there somewhat subtly to be cautious of not labeling what's making the sound necessarily, but more labeling, you could do hearing and then just receptive to the actual sound vibration as opposed to what's making it. And, like it's natural for the mind to, if you're hearing waves crashing, it's natural for the mind to take you on a journey. And that there's nothing wrong with that. It's just that when you're deciding to formally practice, what you're saying is, you can even make a subtle, oh, not now. And, you're bringing the attention back to just receptivity to sound. And you're just doing that over and over again. And that's serving as an anchor. And actually the scene that you've gone off in a story, there's nothing wrong with that. It's just, oh. And then you have a choice to come back or to continue down that road. But when you're formally practicing, you really don't want to continue down that road. You're training your attention. So.
Yeah, and I'd love to hear what the folks who were.
I would too. I'd love to hear from
listening,
people. And yeah,
might have been hearing when they were meditating. Somebody actually says, initially, I found the focusing a sound to feel like a very external focus, and the person says, then I was more able to just go along with it as the meditation went, which I think makes sense. That as we settle in to our meditations, things a more natural flow with it tends to start. Somebody else says, I noticed that my language around sound is limited. I wanted to label the type of sound and not what was making it. It was hard to move beyond beep, hum, thud, etc. But this person, I think they're doing it exactly correct, right?
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. It's like you don't have to be like boat, bird, whatever. You could it could just be the quality of loud or dissonant or even something beyond language, just feeling without having to assign a word to it. Somebody also asked if we could repeat the author of, or the person we're talking about. So his name is Gordon Hempton. So it's Hempton. It's like Hampton with an E. So HEMPTON. And he's a pretty interesting guy. So I do want to make sure everyone feels welcome to ask.
Yeah, please. Anybody else that has any thoughts about that particular way of practicing? We can do more with this too. Like, because I could, even the next time bring chimes, and you can actually. So I could bring chimes, and we hear different pitches and tones, and also, paying attention to. When you're feeling like put off or don't like or resistant, to a sound, that's also something to work with.
Somebody says, when the sounds come in, it's second nature to me to visualize what I imagine is making the sound, even when I'm intentional about trying to let it be only a sound. I think that's the most common thing in the world. I think we have to really practice to not just have the picture or an imagined picture of the thing. And it's always funny for me because it's like if I hear a bird sound, I'm not actually seeing the picture of that bird in my mind. I'm seeing a picture of just some generic bird. It's almost like a cartoon bird that comes up in my head. But
yeah, it's perfectly normal and natural. I think that the seeing of it is really valuable as opposed to the getting lost in it, because then you can you have a choice to be more intentional with how you work with your attention.
And Tara, we have two people who are signaling interest in hearing sort of a chime-based practice. So let's.
Oh yeah, good. I just saw that come in. Yeah, that's great. Yes.
Put that on the docket for
great.
Next Friday. Yeah. All right. Okay, so Tara, I did want to ask you a question that actually came in during our last session, but that we didn't have a chance to get to.
Okay.
It's a little bit along the lines of what we've been talking about, actually. The person had asked, how much time should we expect to have between quiet calm and when our thoughts take us away from practice?
Wow, well, interesting. So, first of all, I guess one thing I would say is not to have an expectation of quiet calm when you practice. That's so important. I'm going to just underscore and highlight that. that's not the purpose of practicing. It's a byproduct of it. But we're learning, I mean, more the purpose is learning to see clearly how things are. And so that, mindfulness informs how we speak and how we engage in the world, that we align with our values, that we see clearly our intentions and our motivations. So calm is not, so I guess in one, I would say, but ultimately, practice and benefits are proportional. And, I've been practicing for a long, long time. And, there are times when I practice that are so busy, like just so busy. And then it's just dealing with the busyness. That's all. But ultimately, over time, you just gain more facility with seeing the thoughts come in earlier so that you can make a choice to, probably in some of earlier times in practice, and probably still now too, I'd be like 30 minutes lost in stories, but you start to actually, the more you practice, you see that much sooner so that you can then bring the attention back. And then the thought comes in, you can bring the attention back much sooner. So you're strengthening that capacity for steadiness of attention. And that's why we're meditating, to have some steadiness, some calibration, which is the term I really love. You're just calibrating the mind so the mindfulness can work more effectively and see clearly.
Yeah,
Do you want to elaborate on that, John?
No, I was just going to say that this is reminding me of how, as you know, Tara, my wife and I have a 5-week-old child, and we've thought to ourselves, he's becoming less fussy over time. But really, I think we're just becoming better at understanding how to read his cues. And I feel like with mindfulness as well, I think my mind probably is a little more settled than it was maybe 10 years ago when I started practicing. But at the same time, it's really about, I'm just better at dealing with what comes up in the mind. And so it's less, it causes me less suffering,
It's such a great analogy, John. I love that. That's so true with this practice. I mean, I think, you befriend the mind over time in all of its craziness and all of its goodness, that you just befriend the mind, and it becomes less problematic.
If you liken the mind to a crying child, at a certain point you take it less personally when your mind is producing sort of a crying out sound. You're like, well, it's not really because my mind doesn't like me. It's because it either needs something or it's trying to tell me something, and maybe I should pay attention and listen to what it's trying to tell me.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, I think you start to drop the resistance to it being problematic. Because like when you add resistance, that's like a layer that's unnecessary. It's like the crying baby is happening, and adding resistance doubles the angst. So with anything. So we start to lose the resistance to the facts of what are actually happening, and then engage with what's happening with informed by mindful awareness.
Tara, thank you for that. And as always, good things as this must come to an end. But folks, we will be back with you every Tuesday and Friday, 8:30 a.m. Eastern Time. Now, if you have questions that we didn't get to here, or if you think of any later in the week, please send them to askmtm@harvardpilgrim.org, or you can leave me a voicemail at 617-509-7047. You can find the links to a wealth of mindfulness resources on our main site at harvardpilgrim.org/mindfulness, or you can find the links to these sessions and other free wellness sessions which Harvard Pilgrim offers. Those include yoga classes, Zumba classes, and health and wellness webinars for adults and kids alike at harvardpilgrim.org/livingwellatHome. On that page, you'll also have the option to add these sessions to your iCal or Outlook calendar. You can check out the free resources which we put together with Mindful Magazine, free resources about mindfulness and pain management. You can find those at mindful.org/pain. You can see what we've been up to on our Facebook page, facebook.com/mindthemoment. And you can rewatch this session, older sessions, introductory sessions, and interviews which Tara conducted with leading mindfulness researchers on our YouTube page, youtube.com/mindthemoment. So 1 week after her passing, Ruth Bader Ginsburg is still on my mind, and I'd like to end, if I could, with a few words from her. She said, "Dissents speak to a future age. A dissent is not simply to say, my colleagues are wrong and I would do it this way. The greatest dissents do become court opinions, and gradually, over time, their views become the dominant view. So that's the dissenter's hope, that they are writing not for today, but for tomorrow," end quote. Which is only to say, if it ever feels like you're casting your mindfulness or your compassion upon deaf ears or uninterested minds, remember that you're playing the long game and keep your eyes on the horizon. Tara, is there anything you'd like to close with, any practices or thoughts for folks to think about?
No, I just, I wish you a wonderful autumn warm weekend, and these are few and far between, I think, in the coming months ahead. So enjoy your plans. And as always, I love being with you on Friday mornings. So thank you for joining.
Thank you, Tara. And thank you to everyone as well. We hope to see you very soon next week for Chimes. Have a momentous day. Bye-bye.